I've always been an easy man to live with. That's not me bragging, it's just a pattern. Friends say it, coworkers say it, even strangers tend to relax around me. I laugh easily, assume good intentions, and believe most problems can be solved with patience and a decent conversation. That's how I've always operated. For context, since stories like this needed, my name is Tom Reynolds, and I'm 42 years old. My wife, Claire Reynolds, is 39. We'd been married 8 years and lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood that looked exactly like the ones in the examples you shared. Neat lawns, polite waves, and the illusion that nothing truly bad ever happens close to home. The kind of place where drama feels out of place until it isn't. Claire was formidable, sharp-minded, confident, always 2 or 3 steps ahead. She smiled often, but there was calculation behind it. People called her capable. I thought she was impressive. Looking back, I realized she liked control, but preferred to call it efficiency. Then there was Evan Carter, our neighbor. 45 years old, recently divorced, living alone in the house next door. Always fixing something, always around. Friendly in a way that felt harmless on the surface, just like the men in the stories you sent me as references. The kind who never crosses a line directly, but always stands close enough to one. Claire noticed him before I did. "Oh, Evan's nice," she said one afternoon, watching him through the kitchen window. "He's been through a lot." I smiled. "Haven't we all?" She laughed, a genuine, bright laugh. At the time, it meant nothing to me. At first, everything looked normal. Borrowed tools, short chats over the fence, Claire offering him coffee when I was at work because that's just being neighborly. I trusted her without hesitation. Trust is my default setting. What I didn't understand yet, what all those example stories hint at, is how quickly kindness can be repurposed, how cheerfulness can be mistaken for blindness, and how some people don't stumble into betrayal. They plan it. Looking back, the signs were obvious. At the time, they felt harmless. Claire started adjusting her schedule. Nothing dramatic, just small shifts. Grocery runs that took longer, walks in the evening that didn't need company. She framed it all as self-care, a word she used often and strategically. Evan became a fixture without announcing himself. He stopped by more frequently, always with a reason, a question about the fence, a package delivered to the wrong house, a tool he forgot to return. Claire never seemed annoyed. In fact, she seemed energized afterward, lighter, sharper, unusually cheerful. I noticed, but I didn't suspect. That's an important distinction. I'm a cheerful man by nature. I like people. I assume the best. If someone smiles at my wife and she smiles back, I don't see danger. I see normal life unfolding. Claire took advantage of that. She started mentioning Evan casually at dinner. Evan says the housing market's about to shift. Evan thinks we should replace the back gate. Evan had the funniest story today. Always Evan. Always harmless. Always positioned as background noise. One night, I came home early, unexpectedly early. Claire was in the backyard, laughing. Not the polite laugh she used with friends, but the loose one, the unguarded one. Evan was there too. They stood a little too close, not touching, not obviously wrong, just aligned. "Oh, you're home already," Claire said, a beat too late. "Traffic was kind," I replied, smiling. "What's the occasion?" "Nothing," she said easily. "Evan was just helping me move the planters." I waved at him. "Appreciate it, man." He nodded, almost stiffly, and left soon after. Claire kissed my cheek that night, longer than usual, overcompensation disguised as affection. I didn't question it, but something subtle shifted. From that point on, she didn't just welcome Evan's presence, she anticipated it. She'd glance out the window, keep her phone nearby, light up at notifications she pretended not to care about. The door between houses was open now, not literally, strategically. And once it opened, it didn't need to be forced. I didn't catch them in a dramatic way. No sudden scene, no raised voices, no moment where everything shattered at once. It was slower than that. Claire began guarding small things. Her phone was always face down, password changed, not announced, just quietly done. She took calls in the garage now, pacing between boxes like the walls might be listening. I noticed, but I smiled through it. That's my flaw, if you want to call it one. When something feels off, I look for a reasonable explanation instead of the worst one. Claire knew that about me. She'd known it for years. Evan's presence became normalized. He was no longer the neighbor, he was Evan. First name, familiar tone. She spoke about him the way people speak about coworkers they see every day, intimate without being emotional. One Saturday morning, she said she was going for a walk. She came back an hour later, flushed and bright-eyed. "Good walk?" I asked. "The best," she said, smiling. "Clears the head." Later that day, I saw Evan return home around the same time she did. I didn't accuse. I didn't even react. I just filed it away. That night, Claire was unusually attentive, asked about my day, laughed at jokes she'd heard 100 times, sat close to me on the couch. People who are doing something wrong often try to balance the scales. She was generous with affection, but careful with information. The real change, though, was in her confidence. She started correcting me more, finishing my sentences, making decisions and informing me afterward. Her tone carried certainty, almost superiority. "You don't always have to know everything," she said once, smiling. "Trust is healthy." I nodded. It is. But trust without transparency isn't trust, it's strategy. I didn't know yet what she was doing. I just knew she was doing something, and she believed she was untouchable. Evan wasn't a mistake. He was an option. And Claire was testing how far she could go without losing what she already had. The thing about being cheerful is that people assume you're not paying attention. I paid attention. Claire started making mistakes. Not big ones, just confident ones, the kind people make when they think they've already won. One afternoon, she mentioned Evan without realizing she'd done it. "He hates when the dog barks at night," she said casually while scrolling through her phone. I looked up. "He?" She froze for a fraction of a second, not enough for anyone dramatic to notice, but enough for someone calm to register. "I mean, Evan," she added smoothly. "We were talking the other day." I smiled. "Ah, right." She watched me carefully after that, like a chess player checking whether a move had been noticed. Another time, she came home later than usual and went straight to the shower. Not tired, energized, humming. She left her phone on the counter. It buzzed. Once, twice. A name flashed before the screen went dark. Evan. No emoji, no heart, no disguise. Confidence again. She didn't think she needed camouflage anymore. That night, she asked me, out of nowhere, "You trust me, right?" I laughed softly. "I married you. That's kind of the idea." She smiled, satisfied. That was the moment I understood the structure. Claire wasn't reckless. She was deliberate. She'd chosen Evan because he was close, available, and emotionally dependent. A man still raw from divorce is easy to manage. He needs reassurance. He needs direction. And Claire liked direction. She liked being admired, needed it really, and Evan gave it freely, gratefully. He didn't challenge her. He didn't question her choices. He looked at her like she was a solution. I was something else. I was stability, safety, the life she didn't want to lose while she experimented with another one. That realization didn't hurt the way you'd expect. It clarified. I wasn't being betrayed because I lacked something. I was being used because I provided something. And once I saw that, the pieces stopped moving randomly. They formed a picture. I didn't confront her after that. People expect anger when they betray you. Anger gives them something to push against. I stayed cheerful, consistent, predictable. It made her comfortable, and comfort makes people careless. I started checking times. Claire would say she was running to the store and come back 40 minutes later with 2 items. She'd say she was answering emails and step outside for calls that didn't sound professional at all. Evan's garage door would open when she left and close when she returned. Patterns don't lie, people do. One afternoon, she asked me to grab something from her car. I opened the passenger door and saw a receipt on the seat. Coffee, 2 cups, same timestamp as her walk. I laughed out loud, not because it was funny, but because it was simple. That evening, I waved at Evan over the fence like always, smiled, asked him how things were going. He looked nervous now, avoided my eyes. People who are borrowing someone else's life don't like being acknowledged. Claire, on the other hand, was radiant.
She cooked dinner, told stories, touched my arm more than usual. Her confidence was peaking. She thought she was balancing everything perfectly. That night, after she fell asleep, I checked her old tablet, the one she never bothered to log out of because she didn't think I used it. The messages were there. Not dramatic, not emotional, coordinated. Times, excuses, reassurance, plans built around my schedule. She didn't just see Evan, she managed him, and she managed me. I closed the tablet and sat there, smiling in the dark, because now I didn't just suspect, I knew. And knowing gave me something better than anger. It gave me options.
I didn't rush after that. That's the part people don't always understand. Once you have proof, speed stops mattering. Timing becomes everything. Claire was riding high now. She'd stopped checking my reactions altogether. She talked freely, moved freely, acted like the house was already hers alone. Evan's car appeared more often. Sometimes it was there before she got home, like he was waiting. I stayed cheerful. I joked. I made dinner. I laughed at the right moments. I became background noise in my own marriage, and that was exactly where she wanted me. One evening she said casually, "Evan might need help with something this weekend." I raised an eyebrow. "Help with what?" "Oh, just things," she said, smiling. "You wouldn't be interested." That was new. Not avoidance, dismissal. I nodded. "You're probably right." She looked almost surprised at how easily I agreed. Later that night, I went for a walk. Not to cool off, to think. I realized then that Claire hadn't chosen Evan over me. She'd chosen herself. Evan was useful. I was reliable. In her mind, there was no conflict, just assets serving different purposes. That clarity didn't make me bitter. It made me decisive. The next morning, I backed up everything. Messages, receipts, timelines. Not for revenge, for completeness. I like things finished properly. When Claire kissed me goodbye before leaving, she said, "You're being very easy lately." I smiled. I try not to complicate things. She laughed, pleased. She didn't know she'd just been granted exactly what she wanted. Space. And once someone believes they've won, they stop defending themselves. I didn't expose her right away. I waited for the moment when the truth would no longer need help standing up. That moment came sooner than I expected. Claire started talking about the future again. Not ours, hers. Trips she wanted to take, changes she wanted to make to the house, ideas that assumed I would remain exactly where I was, present, supportive, unquestioning. Evan, meanwhile, was unraveling. He stopped waving, stopped lingering. When we crossed paths, his smile looked practiced, brittle. Guilt doesn't always look like shame. Sometimes it looks like exhaustion. One evening, Claire came home glowing. "Evan's thinking of selling his place," she said, too casually. "He wants a fresh start." "That's a big step. Where would he go?" She shrugged. "He hasn't decided." I smiled. "Interesting." That night, I placed my phone on the kitchen counter and walked away. I didn't hide it. I didn't lock it. When I came back, it was exactly where I left it, but the screen was off. Claire sat at the table, her smile just a little too tight. "You should lock your phone," she said lightly. "People can misunderstand things." I nodded. "You're right. Misunderstandings happen when people look at things they weren't meant to see." She held my gaze for a moment. For the first time, I saw uncertainty flicker there. Not fear, calculation. She was checking whether I knew. And I realized something important then. Claire didn't feel guilty. She felt exposed. People like her don't fear hurting others. They fear losing control of the story. I poured myself a glass of water, still smiling, still kind, and for the first time, she didn't know which role I was playing anymore. Claire stopped sleeping well. That was the first visible crack. She was still cheerful during the day, bright voice, quick smile, but at night she paced, checked her phone, went to bed late, and woke up earlier than usual. Confidence can carry a person only so far before reality starts asking questions. Evan's car stopped appearing as often. When it did, it left quickly. One afternoon, Claire came home irritated, not energized. She dropped her bag harder than necessary and went straight to the kitchen. "He's being difficult," she said, as if continuing a conversation we'd never started. "Who?" I asked gently. She hesitated. "Evan." That was new. She hadn't slipped like that before. "He's suddenly nervous, paranoid, says he feels watched." I smiled. Change makes people uneasy. She studied me for a moment, like she was trying to decide whether that sentence meant something more. That evening, Evan knocked on our door. I answered. He looked worse up close. Pale, tired. His confidence had drained away, leaving behind a man who realized he'd been borrowing courage from someone else. "Hey," I said warmly. "Everything okay?" He nodded too quickly. "Yeah, just wanted to say hi." Claire appeared behind me. Her face hardened for half a second before she recovered. They didn't speak much. Evan left within minutes. Later that night, Claire turned to me in bed and said, "You've changed." I chuckled softly. People say that when they start noticing. She didn't laugh. "What do you want?" she asked quietly. I turned toward her, still calm, still kind. "I want honesty," I said, "from everyone involved." Her breath caught, not because she felt remorse, but because she knew the ground had shifted. For the first time, she wasn't directing the situation. She was reacting to it. And people like Claire don't lose because they're exposed. They lose because they underestimate how quietly someone else can step out of their shadow. The end didn't come with shouting. It came on a Sunday morning, over coffee that went cold between us. Claire didn't deny it when I finally spoke. She didn't cry, she didn't apologize. She sighed, the way people do when a game ends not with a loss, but with inevitability. "I didn't think you'd actually leave," she said. I smiled gently. "I didn't think you'd actually stay honest." She watched me carefully, searching for anger, for bitterness, for something she could work with. There was nothing there, just calm. Evan moved out a week later. No goodbyes, no explanations. He avoided my eyes the last time I saw him loading his car. I wished him well, and meant it. Weak men are dangerous only when someone stronger lends them confidence. Claire tried once more to reshape the story. She spoke about mistakes, about feeling unseen, about how complicated things became. I listened politely and didn't argue. Some people need chaos to feel alive. I don't. I moved out quietly, took my books, my clothes, my favorite mug, left her the house she wanted so badly. Freedom has a cost, and she'd already decided who should pay it. Life became lighter after that. Not happier overnight, just clearer, kinder, honest. I still wave at neighbors. I still laugh easily. I still believe most people mean well. But now I know this too. Kindness isn't blindness. Cheerfulness isn't weakness. And walking away calmly can be the loudest statement of all. Claire wanted control. Evan wanted escape. I wanted peace. And this time, I kept it.